Alright, time for part 3. So first we have Master Splicer. I don't think the card is gonna make it in Constructed, most likely, but it's not completely unimaginable. Yeah, it just basically is a 4-cost 1/1 that brings a 4/4 with it, but it has like the usual blowout potential, and Teferi kind of punishes it quite a bunch, so it's not that great. And yeah, giving golems +1/+1 doesn't really do that much, so ultimately I don't expect this to be good enough for Constructed, but in Limited it seems like a pretty strong card, and it's kind of a nice throwback to like Mirrodin Besieged and New Phyrexia. Next we have Rule of Law, another reprint. We already got a reprint of this as uncommon in 10th edition, I believe, after the original rare from Mirrodin, which would otherwise be fairly expensive by now, and it's not particularly needed in Modern, and I don't really see it being needed in Standard much either, so all in all, yeah, I don't think this card is going to be very relevant in any format other than the format that it is already legal in before this print. Next we have Aerial Assault. They're really trying to like push a flyer theme here in that set. So yeah, destroy target tapped creature and gain 1 life for each creature you control with flying. Seems like a pretty solid removal in Limited all in all, but not a Constructed card. Next we have Angelic Gift. One of the better auras basically. Giving flying free of card economy is nice in Limited, plus some minor enchantment synergies like the rare that we talked about. Makes this, at least as a one-off, a pretty solid card in Limited, I think. Not a Constructed relevant though. Next we have Battalion Foot Soldier, basically just a human soldier version of Conquistador. Just a nice Limited tool basically, nothing more. Next we have Dawning Angel, also a bit of an angel theme going on here. And yeah, this is decent, I guess, not great. 5 costs, 3/2 flying, that gains you 4 life. Seems like an okay Limited card. Not that great though, and definitely not Constructed playable. Then we have Daybreak Triplane. Also just an okay Limited 2-drop really, nothing exciting. In the right deck, in a more defensive deck or a deck that can buff it, it has some nice utility due to 3 toughness and lifelink. Next we have Disenchant, which is kind of surprising honestly. Didn't think they would bring back Disenchant, given that they a couple years ago decided that Naturalize is going to be the default thing and it's a green thing to Disenchant and not a white thing anymore. So getting to see back traditional Disenchant is kind of cool and kind of surprising in a way. But yeah, the set already has a couple of like throwbacks to old Magic, as I mentioned in the first 2 parts. So this is kind of another like sort of dialing back time a bit to a couple of years ago when Disenchant was still the go-to, yeah, destroy target artifact or enchantment instant for 2, and not Naturalize. Naturalize was only like a fringe secondary alternative. Same as with the like color-specific hosers that we saw and so on. But other than that, I don't think this is going to have a major impact in Constructed, and in Limited it's only a sideboard card. Then we have Glaring Aegis. This one seems pretty nice. It's quite strong for how little it costs. It taps target creature and opponent controls and gives +1/+3 and all that for 1. And then if you have some additional like enchantment or aura synergies, this is looking pretty good for Limited. So for an aggressive deck, this seems pretty powerful all in all, I would say. And last but not least for part 3, we have Griffin Protector, which is a pretty solid Limited 4-drop. Basically a 4-cost 2/3 flying is a bit underwhelming, but if it comes with a decent upside, it starts to become a pretty good common usually. And yeah, whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, it gets +1/+1. So it'll usually be a 2/3 on defense and a 3/4 on offense, which is pretty good for 4-drop, and clearly something that you want more in an aggressive white deck than a defensive deck. But in an aggressive deck, it seems like a pretty strong 4-drop in Limited. Alright, that concludes part 3 of the white cards. I'll be back in a moment with the last remaining 11 white cards to round out the series, so stay tuned.